In today's video, we are jumping into the story of the San Diego real estate market, let you know what's happening with supply, with demand, and how those are playing against each other as we go into the new year. There's a lot of stuff happening in different areas, and we're going to get into the stories of why certain things are happening and what is going to potentially happen into the new year. That way, if you are looking to buy or looking to sell, you're going to be well informed and know exactly what's going on right here in the San Diego real estate market. And I'm Chris Erickson, and this is where you come for all things San Diego real estate. We're dropping new videos every single week, and we also have a real estate crew right here in San Diego. So if you're thinking about making a move, you want to start that conversation, feel free to reach out. All of our information is right down in the link below, or you can scan the QR code popping up right there, because we got your back when making the move here in San Diego. So today we are going to focus on the northern part of San Diego, break down some of these coastal areas, some of these inland areas, and highlight what we have seen over these past few years. As we are jumping into here, you can see everything is broken down by zip code. The first number we're looking at right here is the supply side of things. How many homes are on the market and how many does it compare to the last previous years? Are we well above or well below? Because obviously, if you guys have seen this channel, the last few years, this number has been super low. So all these numbers up here don't really mean much until you get in there and compare them to where they were before. So let's start here in Encinitas. You're seeing a 58 pop up. Now, as we jump into the monthly right here, there's a huge drop off from right here where we peaked out in June. And this year in 2024, we peaked out in Encinitas with 101 homes on the market. Over these past few years, it's been a little noisy as far as when we're peaking. We had October of 2023, we had July/August 2022, 2021 was July, back here in 2020 was May. So it's kind of all different. Typically, we'll see this jump up, the lowest mark back here in January or February. It'll bump up and then kind of drop towards the end of the year, which is what we saw this year. January was the all-time low for the year at 45 homes on the market, hopped up to double that, more than double that, to 101. Now we're only at 58 homes on the market. And the story here, typically, the end of the year, we're going to see less homes on the market. This number will eventually jump back up, but more importantly, where does it compare to prior years? So average right here, you can see this average line of 82. Now for buyers out there, if homes are going above this level, you're gonna have more choices out there. But as we're jumping into here is the more important number. Where do we compare to last year? So sales inventory growth year over year. Now you can see Encinitas and Cardiff right here are kind of two of the oddballs, as well as Del Mar over here. So a few of the coastal cities where we saw the number of homes on the market compared to last year drop. You just saw that chart there. As we jump into somewhere like San Marcos up here. Actually, let's go to the for sale just to show you that real quick, and then we'll hop into the year over year. Jump into the monthly here, and where in Encinitas, this was on a downtrend. Right now, we're kind of plateauing where we have seen the most homes on the market in these last few months here. As we go back to these normalized years, more normalized years, where we were above this average. Obviously, these past few years right here have brought down this average quite a bit. But as we go into here, you can see during this time, we were peaking out at 158 homes on the market in October, 156 homes in July. Now, as we go into the new year once again, if we see this number, which we likely will, this number is most likely going to go up. So while Encinitas had this big drop off here going into the end of the year, where it will come back down and peak back up, this is just going to continue on the upwards trend. So for certain areas, if we go back to the big map, you could tell if there's going to be year over year growth, that is going to be good for buyers. So like northern San Marcos here had 137% more homes on the market compared to last year. As we go down into like Poway, 142%. Down to Scripps Ranch, you have 138%. So some of these inland areas are seeing more homes on the market. But are we in an inventory surplus or an inventory deficit? Meaning, do we have more homes than our average? Do we have less homes than our long-term average? And right there, Encinitas, well below our long-term average. You have that San Marcos. Let's just go with those two since those are the ones that we were focusing on. minus 6.2%. And as always on this channel, we always mention too, it's super important to know what's going on in your neighborhood, because from one zip code to the other, and even once you dial those in and go from one neighborhood to the other, there can be drastically different things happening in each market. So like, here's a good example right here compared to the long-term average in 92069, Northern San Marcos. The number of homes on the market, the inventory, is almost 33% above average. Or even with that plateauing, not necessarily the drop off, Southern San Marcos 92078 is still 6% below where we have been in years past. Now that takes care of some of the supply side of things. Number of homes coming on the market. How many do we compare to last year? Are we above? Are we below trend? Gives us a good indication of where we are as a whole. If we have limited number of homes and a ton of buyers out there, you can expect prices to go up, as we have seen over the past few years. If we're a little more balanced, which I think we're kind of headed into that little more balanced section, then you could see prices continue to go up, but they're not jumping up. You're not seeing a ton of multiple offers. Like, as we hop into the demand side, one thing that we will check out is number of homes with a price cut. How many homes have had a price reduction? Now, we've seen that in certain areas, definitely in areas that we pay really close attention to, but in those areas too, even like this last week, just going how many people are out there. We're in December, you think it's a little bit slow out there. There's an area that we keep a real close eye on, and there was in this past week, at least 3 homes in this past week or two that have gone pending. Now, they had been sitting on the market for a while. They had price reductions, but there are still buyers out there. So sellers, especially coming into the new year. Now, the mortgage rates are going to play a big part of that. How many more buyers come back into the market? But we have clients on both sides. We have sellers getting ready to sell in the new year, and we also have buyers ramping up going into the new year. What we're going to jump into right now is the number of homes with a price cut. The higher this number is, obviously, the less demand there is, because sellers out there are having to reduce their price. Maybe they were watching the market over these past few years and thinking that they can just keep going up in price, where in reality, especially at the end of this year, prices have kind of plateaued and in some cases dropped down a little bit. So here, as we're jumping into, let's look at Encinitas right here. 28.9% of homes have had a price cut. Okay, that's just a number. What does that mean? We'll jump into and show you the trend over these past few years. But just compared to certain other areas, so Southern Carlsbad, this is like Aviara and that kind of area, only 16%. You can look at La Costa, super hot area, only 11% of homes have seen a price reduction. Even in Rancho Santa Fe, which typically has some of the more price reductions, longer market times, it's just a totally different market out there. Only 12% of homes had a price reduction. So what's going on here in Encinitas? So the number of homes actually dropped a little bit from October into November. There was 24 listings, so total homes was only 83 homes. The number of homes that did have a price cut was 24. So just about 29% of homes had a price cut. Now, long term, sitting about 21%. So this is significantly above that level. There's no real peak as we're looking at this, different times of the year. When does it peak? This one was October. This one was October. This was June of 2024. And then October had another peak. But as we go back in time to like the normalized times, right here in 2019, we had a March peak. Back in 2018, we had a September peak. So it's really what's going on in the economy as a whole, what's going on in the real estate market as a whole. And like I said, the lower this number is, like, look at back here. And when I always mention, okay, this is the frenzy. This is when everything was selling. This is when it was going nuts. April 2022, right before we had this big run up where you see a bunch of price cuts, that's when interest rates made a big jump for the first time. Coming off super low lows, the market definitely slowed down quite a bit during this time. But April 2022, listings with price cuts, there were 78 homes on the market at the time, 0 had a price cut. So that's just a completely different market than we are in right now. Let's check out one other area. Let's jump into La Costa, because there's only been less than 11% of homes had a price cut. As we jump into monthly, you can see, wow, there was a huge drop off towards the end of this year. There was only 12 homes with a price cut out of 110. Now we're well under the long-term average right here of 23% here in the La Costa area of Carlsbad. So potentially the demand in Southern Carlsbad is a little bit more than Encinitas right now. Now, has any of this affected home values here in San Diego? Let's jump into Encinitas here. In just a quick overview, you can see where general prices are here in San Diego. Obviously, the lighter they are, the least expensive they are. As you get to the darker colors, the reds, that's when you do start getting into more expensive areas of San Diego. So as we jump into here, into Encinitas, we're gonna go into the monthly. And this is the area's typical home value is determined by Zillow's home value index. So it's not necessarily what homes exactly sold for, but it's using Zillow's data and giving a value on home prices. So if you're looking at Zillow, you can always see there's something called this estimate on there. It gives you an idea of what your home could be worth. If you go into the details, certain cities are different, but if you go into it and you click it in and do a little exploration, a little bit of research, you can find what that area, like how far off they are one way or the other on certain home prices. But nonetheless, this is going to give us a good trend line on where home prices are. So basically from January of 2012, we've been on an upward trend where we did peak in that June time. Once again, when I said the market changed from the latter part of 2022, you can see we did have a slight drop off here. We went from about 1.7 down to about 1.5. But since then, February 2023, it has been ramping back up, and we've seen a continued growth going into the end of the year. And San Marcos is definitely going to be the same story. As we went down here, we peaked out and we went to July of 2022 over $1 million down to 928, and now we are trending. You can see a little slight downtrend, but nothing too crazy. So home prices here in San Diego are still holding strong with home value growths right here. Here is all of the areas everywhere except for a few different areas kind of around downtown San Diego have seen price growth year over year, but all within about 4 to 6% price appreciation, where a few years ago, if you look at, let's just jump into Encinitas, from 2021 to 2022, it was 31%. So you can see quite a bit different than we did have there. And if we go into home value growth for the past 5 years, a lot of these areas are above 70%. And so the story continues. What are we going to see in the new year? And there's a few things that are going to play out. One of the biggest ones, I keep going back to mortgage rates. If mortgage rates drop, definitely as they dropped towards 6 a few months back, there was more buyers out there. There was more loan applications. There was more people getting ready and ramping up to get out into the market. Now we're closer to that 7 mark. It slowed down. It's the end of the year. It's kind of typical. And also expect on the supply side, expect more sellers coming out there. So there's just typical. As we go into the new year, as we ramp up into the spring market, more homes are going to come on the market. Where are those going to end? Are we going to have a ton more buyers? Are we going to have an equal amount of sellers to match? So we're still seeing a little price growth. We're still seeing homes sell relatively quickly. We're still seeing prices appreciate. Or are we going to see the number of sellers not come back, the number of buyers go up? In that case, we're going to go back to, I'm not going to say we're going to go back to where we were in the frenzy market, but it would skew a little bit more towards a seller's market where we have quicker days on market. We have more competition. We have multiple offer situations. Now, if we go the opposite, interest rates stay a little bit higher. More sellers have been waiting. Those come on into the new year and the number of buyers just isn't there. The demand just isn't there. Then you could see longer market times as a seller. You could see potentially home prices soften a little bit. You're going to see less showings at your property. So we're going to keep you informed right here, let you know exactly what's going on in the San Diego real estate market. As always, thanks for tuning in. I'm Chris Erickson, and we got your back when we make the move here in San Diego.